The great hall of Blackthorn Castle was silent, except for the sound of rain against the tall windows. King Alaric Thorn stood at the head of the long table, staring at the map spread before him. Red markers showed the territories of pacts that no longer trusted him. 3 months had passed since his father's death, and every day the coalition against him grew stronger. "You must marry before the next full moon," said Ivor, his oldest advisor. "It is written in the old law. No unmated alpha may hold the throne past 30 days. The coalition knows this. They are waiting for you to fail." Alaric closed his eyes. He was only 26, and the crown felt heavier than it should. His father had been murdered, though no one could prove it, and now vultures circled his throne, hungry for any excuse to take it. "Bring me the list," he said quietly. Ivor placed a scroll on the table. Alaric scanned the names of noble daughters from allied pacts, each one attached to political promises and family debts. He had grown up watching his father drown in exactly those kinds of promises. He did not want a wife who came with chains attached. "There is one more name," Ivor said carefully. "Selene Ashworth. Her pack fell many years ago. She has no political power, no family influence. She works as a healer in the eastern village. Then she is nothing to the coalition," Alaric said. "Exactly. A marriage to her would raise no alarms. No one would suspect a healer of threatening anyone's ambitions." Alaric nodded slowly. A wife with no power meant no one could use her against him. It meant safety, simplicity, and a fast solution to a problem that could not wait. "Send for her," he said. Selene Ashworth was kneeling beside an old woman's bed when the royal guards arrived at her small cottage. Her hands, stained with herbs, froze mid-motion. "The king requests your presence," the guard said. She almost laughed. Kings did not request anything from healers like her. But when she saw the seriousness in the guard's eyes, she understood this was not a joke. Her younger brother, Rowan, gripped her sleeve. He was only 12, thin and pale, the last piece of their broken family. Their pack had been destroyed years ago, in a raid that took their parents and scattered their people. Since then, Selene had done everything to keep Rowan safe, hiding him from the world, praying no one would notice the strange warmth that sometimes appeared in his eyes during the full moon, a warmth that matched something buried deep inside her too. "I have to go," she told him gently. "Stay here. I will come back for you." But when she arrived at the castle and stood before King Alaric, she learned the truth would change everything. "I want to marry you," he said, without warmth, without apology. "It will secure my throne. In return, you and your brother will be protected under my name, given shelter, and never touched by the coalition's threats." Selene's throat tightened. She thought of Rowan, hiding in their crumbling cottage, vulnerable to any wolf who might use him against her. Marriage to a king she did not know felt impossible, but protection for her brother felt like the only thing that mattered. "I accept," she said. "For my brother, nothing more." Alaric studied her carefully, searching for hesitation, for greed, for anything that might explain why a stranger would agree so quickly. He saw only fear and love tangled together in her eyes. It reminded him, uncomfortably, of himself. Their wedding was quiet, almost forgotten by the kingdom within days. There were no grand celebrations, no royal announcements beyond what was legally required. Alaric gave Selene a private chamber, arranged for Rowan to be brought to the castle under careful guard, and then returned to his endless meetings, leaving his new wife alone in a world of stone hallways and unfamiliar faces. Selene did not mind the silence. She used it to explore the castle's herb garden, to tend to injured guards who did not trust the royal healers, and to watch over Rowan as he slowly adjusted to castle life. She rarely saw her husband except during formal dinners, where they exchanged polite, empty words. But late one evening, Alaric found her in the herb garden long after midnight, kneeling beside a wounded stable boy who had been thrown from his horse. "You should not be out here alone," Alaric said, stepping into the moonlight. "He needed help," Selene answered simply, pressing a poultice against the boy's arm. The healers were busy elsewhere. Alaric watched her hands move with quiet confidence, gentle yet sure. There was no hesitation in her, no fear of blood or pain. It struck him then that this woman, whom he had chosen for her lack of power, carried a strength he had never noticed. "Thank you," the stable boy whispered before limping away, leaving the two of them alone under the stars. "You did not have to come find me," Celine said, standing and brushing dirt from her hands. "I wanted to see if the healer everyone whispers about was real," Alaric admitted. "And what do you think now?" He paused, studying her face in the moonlight. "I think I chose more wisely than I realized." For the first time since their wedding, something warm passed between them, fragile and uncertain, like the first light of dawn breaking through clouds. As weeks passed, Alaric's investigation into his father's death grew darker. Hidden letters revealed that members of the coalition had been planning the murder for over a year, waiting for the right moment to strike. Worse, evidence suggested a traitor inside his own council was feeding them information. Meanwhile, Celine began noticing strange whispers among the castle staff, quiet comments about her fallen pack, about legends of a bloodline blessed by the moon herself, a bloodline believed extinct after her family's pack was destroyed. She had heard these stories as a child, dismissed as folklore by her parents before they died. But sometimes, during the full moon, she felt a strange pull inside her chest, a power she did not understand and had always been too afraid to explore. One night, while walking through the castle gardens, she was ambushed. Two hooded wolves lunged from the shadows, blades flashing under moonlight. Celine barely had time to scream before Alaric appeared, having sensed danger through the mate bond neither of them had acknowledged existed. He fought fiercely, wounding one attacker before the other fled into the darkness, leaving behind a torn cloak marked with the coalition's hidden symbol. "They were not here for me," Alaric said afterward, kneeling beside her trembling form. "They were here for you." Celine's hands shook as she clutched her torn sleeve. "Why would anyone want me dead? I have nothing they could want." Alaric studied her closely, his warrior instincts sharpening. "Unless your bloodline is exactly what they fear." That night, for the first time, Celine told him everything: the legends of her ancestors, the whispered stories of moon-blessed power, and her fear that the same power slept inside her and inside Rowan, waiting to awaken. Alaric listened without judgment, holding her hand gently as she spoke. "Whatever you carry inside you," he said, "I will protect it, and you, with everything I have." For the first time since their marriage began, Celine believed him completely. As the days passed, their bond deepened beyond politics and protection. Alaric began seeking her counsel during meetings, valuing her insight into the pack's wounded morale. Celine, in turn, saw the weight he carried alone, the sleepless nights, the grief for his father hidden beneath a mask of strength. Slowly, walls fell between them, replaced by quiet conversations, shared meals, and moments of laughter that neither expected to find in a marriage built from necessity. But danger grew closer with each passing day. Ivor uncovered proof that the coalition planned to strike during the next full moon, when pack magic reached its peak and defenses would be weakest. Worse, he discovered the traitor within the council, a trusted advisor named Corwin, who had been secretly feeding information to the enemy in exchange for promises of power once Alaric fell. "We must prepare for war," Alaric told his generals, fury burning beneath his calm exterior. "They killed my father, they will not take my throne, and they will not touch my wife." Celine, listening from the doorway, felt fear tighten around her heart, not for herself, but for the man she had come to love, despite every reason not to. The night of the full moon arrived heavy with tension. Torches lined the castle walls as guards prepared for the coalition's assault. Celine stood beside Alaric on the highest tower, watching moonlight spill across the kingdom like liquid silver. "Stay hidden during the battle," Alaric said, gripping her hands. "Please." "I cannot hide while you fight for both our lives," she answered firmly. Before he could argue, horns sounded in the distance. The coalition's forces emerged from the tree line, hundreds of wolves moving like shadows beneath the moon. Battle erupted at the castle gates, chaos and fury clashing beneath silver light. Alaric fought at the front lines, cutting through enemy after enemy, but the coalition's numbers proved overwhelming. Corwin, revealed as the traitor, unlocked the eastern gate, allowing enemy forces to flood the courtyard. Alaric was surrounded, wounded, and outnumbered, his strength fading as blood soaked his armor. From the tower, Selene watched in horror as her husband fell to his knees, enemy blades closing in around him. Something inside her shattered, an ancient wall breaking beneath the weight of fear and love combined. The moonlight above her seemed to answer her desperation, wrapping around her body like liquid fire. Power exploded from within her, silver light spilling across the battlefield like a rising tide. Her ancestors' blessing, dormant for years, finally awakened beneath the full moon's glow. She descended from the tower, not as a fragile healer, but as something ancient and powerful, moonlight bending to her will. Enemy wolves froze in shock as silver light wrapped around Alaric, healing his wounds instantly and pushing his attackers backward with unseen force. Selene moved through the battlefield like a storm, her power neutralizing enemy weapons, protecting Blackthorn warriors, and exposing Corwin's betrayal before the entire court. "She is the Moonblood," someone whispered in awe. "The bloodline lives." Corwin, cornered and desperate, tried to flee, but Selene's power surrounded him, holding him in place until guards could seize him. The coalition's forces, stunned by her strength and the sudden shift in battle, began retreating into the forest, their plans shattered beneath moonlight they could not overcome. Alaric, healed and standing once more, watched his wife with awe and disbelief. The woman he had chosen for her lack of political power had just saved his kingdom with a power more ancient than any throne. By dawn, the battlefield lay quiet. Coalition forces had retreated entirely, their alliance broken by the revelation of Selene's power and Corwin's betrayal. The castle, though scarred, stood strong, its people safe beneath a sky finally clearing of storm clouds. Alaric found Selene in the garden where they had first connected weeks earlier, exhaustion heavy in her eyes but relief softening her expression. "You saved us," he said, kneeling beside her. "You saved me." "I could not lose you," she admitted, tears finally falling freely. "Not after everything we have built together." Alaric pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers beneath the fading moonlight. "This marriage began as a solution to save my throne," he whispered. "But somewhere along the way, it became something I never expected. I love you, Selene, not because you saved my kingdom, but because you saved my heart long before that." Selene smiled through her tears. "I love you too, more than I ever thought possible." In the days that followed, the kingdom learned the truth of Selene's bloodline, no longer feared as a threat, but celebrated as a blessing that had protected their king and their people. Rowan, safe and thriving within castle walls, watched his sister stand beside her husband with pride, finally free from the fear that had shadowed their lives for years. The coalition, weakened and exposed, no longer posed a threat to Alaric's throne. Peace, fragile but real, began to settle across Blackthorn territory, built not on forced alliances, but on genuine loyalty between a king and the woman who had become his true equal. Standing together beneath the full moon, months later, celebrating the anniversary of the battle that changed everything, Alaric took Selene's hand and smiled. "They said I married you to save my throne," he said softly, "but you gave me so much more than a crown. You gave me a home." Selene leaned into him, watching moonlight dance across the kingdom they now protected together. "And you gave me a family I never thought I would have again." Under the silver glow of the moon, surrounded by the people they had saved, and the love they had built from nothing but necessity, King Alaric Thorne and Queen Selene Ashworth stood together, not as strangers bound by law, but as true partners, forever united by loyalty, courage, and a bond stronger than any throne could ever demand. The end.